What's up, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Two Car Garage. As you can see behind me, the 1965 Honda we've been building from the ground up is starting to really come together. Now that the wheels are on, the engine's in, the handlebars are on, the headlight is in, man, it's starting to look like a real motorcycle. So now the milestones that we're hitting are really big ones. Now this episode, what I'd like to do is see if the engine cranks, make sure that there's spark. I'd like to install the chain, make sure both side covers are on, install the clutch lever, and we're going to make a lot of awesome progress this episode. So stay tuned, be sure you watch all the way through, and comment, like, and subscribe down below. Thanks. All right, so I built the spark plug wires. They come right off the spark plugs here. This bike has these cool little holders on the cylinder head. They run down, up, and into the dyno coil. We'll turn the key on so that the ignition's on. There's no fuel or anything, so I'm not worried about that. We'll press the start button and see if it cranks at all. And we should see a nice fat spark coming from the spark tester. All right, and we have nice spark on the other cylinder too. So that's not guaranteeing that it's timed perfectly because we upgraded to an electronic ignition, but I think it is, and we have some good spark, so we're set for now at least. So we'll install the chain now, and then we can put this side cover back on. These Honda Dreams have beautiful chain guards that cover the entire chain and cover the rear sprocket so you can't see any of it. I've been waiting to get that on because it's such a nice piece of tin, and the ones that came with this bike are in really good shape. So drive chain first. Let's do that now. Now to tighten the chain, we just drive in these adjusters equally on either side so that the wheel tracks straight and so that the chain tracks straight until there's about, I don't know what the spec is for this bike, and I doubt that it's actually listed anywhere. So I like to just adjust until there's maybe an inch of free play at the middle point between the sprockets. So you find the middle point between the sprockets. In this case, it's probably about right here, and when there's an inch of free play. So we'll just put that wheel backwards until we get to that tension. Chain is tracking nice and straight, so I call that installed. We'll tighten down the adjuster bolts or lock nuts, and then we're ready to tighten down the rear axle as well. So chain done. Okay, now that the chain is on, we can put this right side crankcase cover back on that covers up the magneto and the rear sprocket. This is the Kickstarter arm. So before we put the Kickstarter back on, we have to wind it up and then fit it over the spline shafts. Next, let's hook up the carburetor. So the carb's already assembled, it's good to go. All we have to do is hook up the throttle cable to the top of it, stick it on the intake, and then put on the air filter, and we're good to go. Let's do that now. while we're over here on the side, we can install our brake pedal and our kickstart lever. So let's attach these. Now that we're attaching the rear brake lever or pedal, we can adjust the rear brake as well. So let's get this on, and then we'll be one step closer to starting it for the first time. I mean, we don't need the brake pedal on to start it, but I want to run but you have to have the exhaust on. I mean, you don't have to have the exhaust on. I want to have the exhaust on before starting it, so I'd like to have these pedals in place before fitting the exhaust. Let's do it. So here we are looking at the bike, ready for the last main thing to put on before we can hear it start for the first time. And that is, you guessed it, the exhaust. Now, the stock exhaust mufflers are, good enough so that from 10 feet away, they look pretty nice. But upon closer inspection, you can see that there are tons of dents everywhere in them, just really, really beat up. You can't buy these pretty much anywhere for anything even remotely affordable. There aren't any reproductions either of them. So what I opted for instead are some just vintage style new mufflers that are more universal. Listen, I know it's not original equipment, but I'd rather have something on there that looks nice than original equipment that looks like trash. So we'll get the exhaust on, and then after that, it's just a matter of putting some gas in the carb and seeing if it starts. So let's get the exhaust on. Okay, so it turns out I can't use these nice aftermarket universal Dunstall style mufflers because they won't fit. You can see once they go on the headers here, like this, there's no place to attach this rear bracket. So even if I did attach it to where the other one was, which would be like that, it would be too low like this. So you can see how low it is. The kickstand would smash into it, and the center stand would smash into it as well when it's trying to go up. So I don't think this will work, and we'll just have to put the stock mufflers back on and just kind of go with it. So we'll put the stock mufflers on just so we can get this thing started. Here's the plan. The mufflers are on, the exhaust is tightened down. We should be all good to go. The carburetor and air filter's in. So the tank's not ready yet, and we don't need the tank. What we're gonna do is lower the bike down, hook an auxiliary temporary gas tank up to it. Just a little bottle basically that's a fuel source. See if it starts. It's got oil in it. The exhaust is hooked up and tightened down. Let's turn it on. The real question is this: should I use the electric starter or should I use the kick starter? First time starting it, let's go for the gold and use the kick starter. Sounds like there's some sort of like metal snapping noise, you know? It was doing it when I was trying to kickstart it as well. So I think it might be from the kickstarting mechanism or something. Yeah, right there. What is that? Okay, clearly there's like a metal smashing noise when you try to kickstart it or electric start it. Not really sure where it's coming from or what it is, so we will investigate that a little bit before we keep trying it. So, although we couldn't hear it run, I do appreciate you guys sticking around until the end. The bike is getting more and more complete every episode, even if we have a few setbacks. The chain is on, the carb and air filter is on, the entire engine is in and pretty much assembled and tuned in. All that's left is to get it started. So clearly there's that metal smashing noise that through some process of elimination we should be able to figure out and sort out pretty easily. As always, thank you for subscribing, liking and commenting on every video. Be sure you hit that bell down below. That way you're notified every Sunday when the next video drops. See you next time.